Hi everyone, welcome to True Fan Forum. Today I want to discuss one of my absolute favorite comics, Arak, Son of Thunder. Now, for any of you who are not familiar with the title, Arak Son of Thunder was a sword and sorcery comic first published in 1981 by DC Comics and was created by writer/editor Roy Thomas and artist Ernie Colon. Now, interestingly, Arak's first appearance was not in his own comic, but rather in issue 48 of DC's other sword and sorcery title, The Warlord, as a special preview insert, which I believe they did to create interest and buzz about the character before his series came out. Now, the comic follows Arak, a Native American man who travels throughout Europe in the late 8th century. That's right, you heard me. He's a Native American in Europe way before Christopher Columbus was even born, let alone before he sailed the ocean blue. I mean, that premise alone makes this a very unique title and rather quite interesting. Now, let me give a little explanation of just how in the world Arak got to Europe at that particular time. Now, it all began with a Viking longship that had been thrown off course by a very powerful storm. Now, after the storm ended, but before the Vikings could turn around and go home, they saw a small boat on the water, a canoe actually. Now, they sailed over to investigate and found a single occupant, a 10-year-old boy, the title character. Now, they were quite taken aback by Arak since they had never seen anyone who looked like him. And in fact, the captain of the ship pretty much thought he was an ill omen and was ready to kill Arak at a moment's notice. But one of the crew members, who incidentally was not a Viking but rather from Frankland, stepped in and said, "Hold on, I pulled him out of the sea, so therefore I claim him as my slave." Now, he really didn't want a slave. That was the only way he could figure out to save Arak from the rest of the Vikings. And interestingly, the man sort of became a foster father figure to Arak. I mean, he raised him and trained him to be a warrior. And he sort of even gave him his name, because Arak is not the title character's real name. And apparently, we don't discover what his name is until further on in the series. The name Arak comes from the boy mispronouncing the name Eric. And since the Frankish man had no idea what to call him, he just said, "Arak, huh? Okay, we'll call you Arak, because there's nothing else to call you." As I said, he took Arak in, raised him, and trained him to be a warrior, and apparently he did his job really well, because Arak grew to be this tremendously strong, graceful warrior. He's an expert tracker, and archer, and swordsman, but his favorite weapon is a tomahawk, which I just love the idea of this guy going into battle with a sword in one hand and a tomahawk in the other. That's just really cool imagery. Now, what the things I want to discuss? Discuss the origin. Let me discuss the world of Arak, Son of Thunder, because it's a really interesting idea. Because what Roy Thomas did was he didn't want to create some sort of strange parallel world, or this bygone era like he had done in one of his probably most famous works, Marvel's Conan Barbarian. No, what he did was he wanted to go for a very realistic world, a very factual based world. So obviously he did a lot of research into Europe of that particular time and tried to create a world that feels real. I mean, he includes real places such as Frankland, Northumbria, Mercia, Byzantium, Constantinople. He includes real life figures such as King Charlemagne, and Prester John. But what he did was interesting was, even though this is a very factual based world, there are still lots of elements of the fantastical. And what I mean is that there's magic in this world, real magic. And there are monsters and demons and figures from all kinds of mythology. Which brings it to a very interesting world. And even among the factual and the mystical, it's just I love the Europe he creates because even though this is Europe in the 8th century AD and it's a very Christian world, you can still see elements of the ancient pagan beliefs, and there's bits of Islam and other beliefs all mingled together to really create a vibrant, unique world. Um, let me see. Let me go into some of the couple of the main characters of the series. First off, let me talk about, of course, the main character himself. The man the book is named after, Arak. Now, what I love about Arak is that he is this wonderful, direct, and straightforward character. I mean, by that I mean he pretty much everything he says he means. He doesn't believe in flowery language and empty compliments. He doesn't believe in lying or cheating. Basically, whatever he says is the truth. He's also a very honorable character in that, he has certain guidelines. Like, he won't attack a helpless opponent. He won't attack women, unless maybe they're trying to kill him, in which case, he'll make exceptions. He doesn't lie. If he makes a promise, he will keep that promise, even if it's, say, a promise made to an enemy. Like, for example, the enemy and Arak have to sort of team up in order to survive, and they agree to work together. And he says, "Okay, I promise not to kill you." He won't, and oath might even extend past the situation and go on further. Again, unless perhaps the person he made a deal with betrays him, or he just figures the oath no longer applies. And what I love about Arak is that he's very direct, in that he quickly sets upon a course of action and follows through. It's not that he doesn't think, he is quite intelligent. It's that he doesn't let himself get bogged down in a lot of useless thinking and posing, whatever. A lot of it is very instinctual. He sees a situation, comes up with a plan, and goes through with it. And he's also very fearless. I mean, in the comic book, he faces not only mortals, but he faces all kinds of sorcerers and monsters and these horrendous creatures, and yet he never shies away from confronting them. In fact, he will go swinging at no matter what it is with his sword, his tomahawk, a battle cry on his lips, which makes it just so interesting. Another character I wanted to go into is his early and constant traveling companion, Valda, a young woman, a female knight actually, in the service of the court of King Charlemagne of Frankland. Now, Valda's most common nickname is the Iron Maiden. She's called that because, one, she's as tough as iron, she's as deadly as an Iron Maiden, and she's about as cuddly as an Iron Maiden. But which is kind of understandable. I mean, she sort of has to be, I feel like she has to be aggressive in order to just survive in the world she lives in and to show her worth. Because think of it, she's living in a time when women really weren't well regarded or thought capable of doing much. So the idea of a female knight is for most men laughable. I mean, they look at her, they think, "Oh, you can't be a knight. You're just a girl. You're pretty, but you're just a girl." Yeah, apparently those guys quickly discovered that they were wrong. Yeah, so big mistake on their part, and depending on how things go, that might be their last mistake, because she is a very good warrior. So while she's not perhaps the friendliest person to travel with, she is, however, a fierce, loyal companion, and definitely someone you want on your side during a fight. So again, she joins Arak very early on in his adventures, and they become a good team. I mean, they argue a lot, they snipe at each other, but they have each other's backs, so you can really tell and see how their relationship progresses throughout the series. Before I go on with anything else, I want to sort of discuss Arak's past. And what's interesting about that is you really don't get a good sense of Arak's past in the beginning because he doesn't discuss his past a lot. He doesn't want to. So you only get a few glimmers of his past, his heritage. For example, we know that his people's name are the, and I'm probably mispronouncing this, forgive me, the Quantaka. We also learn fairly early on is that his people were basically eradicated by an enemy Arak doesn't discuss. So I think that perhaps that's why he doesn't want to discuss his people, because it brings about a sort of heartache, thinking that everyone he knew, that his entire tribe were butchered, and the only reason he survived was because he managed to get on that canoe, and which is where he was found in the beginning of the series. Another interesting aspect of his past, which really I think drives the series, is his parentage. Now, as a child, Arak was told that his father was not a mortal man, but rather Hino, his people's god of thunder, hence the title Son of Thunder. Now, what I find interesting about this is Arak's reaction to the idea that his father was a god. His reaction is sort of ambivalent. I mean, he doesn't really disbelieve the claim, nor does he really seem to believe it. He just sort of goes on, he'll say, sometimes he'll make a prayer and say, Hino, you who are called my father, if you exist, answer me. If you are my father, if you are alive, answer me. And again, there's that if question, if you are my father. And again, it's interesting, like, he doesn't seem to really care. I mean, it's like, if you are my father, great. If you're not, oh well. He just lives his life. Now, apparently, the question of Arak's parentage is resolved as the series goes on. I know what happens, but I don't want to say, because I really want people to find the stuff out for themselves, which I think makes the journey and reading the comics a lot more fun when you don't know what's going to happen. So again, I find Arak's sort of past interesting because you only get little tidbits which add a certain mystery to the character, which I like. Because even though he's straightforward, there is that element of the mysterious stuff. I wonder where he comes from. I wonder if his father is really a god, which again adds certain flavor to the comic. Let me see. Now let me discuss a little bit of the writing. I love Roy Thomas's work. I've read a few of his other works. He's got this wonderful, almost lyrical style to his work. It just draws you in. Let me give you first a couple of examples. First, let me read you to what is called a old Quantaka chant from the first issue. If I perish here in this sunrise land, this country where I was not born, who will bury me? Who will sing my death song? The high striding thunder will bury me. The rumbling storm clouds will stand over my grave and sing. Whew, I love that. And again, throughout the series you get old Quantaka proverbs and chants, little bits and pieces to sort of give you an idea of what his people were like, which again really adds nice flavor to it. Now let me read another example. This one describes the Vikings right after the storm. Yet it is weariness, not pride, which marks the men aboard this Viking longship, on this dark morn of the world, now 12 centuries agone. For none of them thought, last night in the storm's sharp teeth, to be alive to greet the morrow. No, not even here, so far from any lands or seas they know. Oh, I loved writing. Because again, it's lyrical and it's powerful. It just draws you in. It gives a great tone to the series. And thankfully, from what I understand, Roy Thomas pretty much wrote the entire run of the series, which I believe ran for 50 issues. So I love that uncontinuous streak, and it's just styles. Ooh, I love his work. I love it. Now let me talk about the arts by Ernie Colon. Now I'm not really familiar with his work, but from what I see just on his title alone, I love it. Because he's got a great style. It's detailed, and it's vibrant, but it doesn't go into a sort of common superhero comic where everybody's got this really exaggerated physiques or postures. Let me give you an example. Here's the first page of the first issue. I mean, oh, look at that. That is what I'm talking about. I love the detail, the qualities. I mean, look at that. It's just powerful. Let me give you another example where we first see Arak in the actual story as an adult. Here we go. Again, I mean, look at that. That physique is wonderful. It's strong. It's powerful, but isn't going to sort of exaggeration you see in a lot of superhero comics, which again works because this is not a superhero comic. And again, now he doesn't do. I don't think Ernie Colon did the entire series, but he did a lot of it. And again, the overall, even when he doesn't do the issues, the artwork has still got this great, vibrant quality to it that gives it its own feel. Let me see. Oh, another thing I find interesting is the inking and the just color palette of the comic. Now I'm not sure if this was sort of the plan or is perhaps just a limitation of the work of the printing technology at the time, but I find there's a certain grittiness to the colors and the inking, which again I think works because again this is a very dark world. This is Europe in what's called the Dark Age, so I wouldn't expect bright and cheery. But yeah, it just works. It just adds to the overall feel of the comic, so you can look at it and go, oh, that's an Arak. Yeah, so I love that quality of work, and it's a very also dynamic work too. Let me show you an action pose. Let me see. Oh yes, here's a page where Arak fights a sea serpent. I mean, look at that. There we go. Oh yeah. Oop. I mean, look at that. That is what I'm talking about. It's got this great work. You could just see the monster about to, just turn Arak into a snack, and then boom, he's hit by lightning. It's just, oh, I love it. I love it. I mean, Roy Thomas and Ernie Colon did such a fantastic job creating this comic. You could definitely tell that they loved what they were doing because of the detail and the attention and just everything they put into it makes this interesting. Let me see. Discuss the world. Oh, now let me discuss how to get the comic because in my experience, it really hasn't been that easy. Now, since this really isn't a very, I'm gonna say, well-known comic, there are no trade paperbacks or collected editions as far as I know. So if you want to find the comic, your best bet is to go to your local comic shop, maybe a convention, or even online, but I don't know how that works because I don't do online shopping a lot for comics. Just again, go to one of those and just cross your fingers and hope you can find an issue. Unfortunately, I haven't really found too many issues when I go to a comic shop. Now again, that could just be that perhaps there wasn't a lot of issues made, or perhaps people who have the comics really enjoy them and don't want to give them up. So yeah, I mean, again, it's all just a roll of the dice. It's luck. However, if you do find an issue or a few, get them because they are just fantastic. But good news is, at least in my experience, that I never saw these issues in very highly priced. I always found them in bargain bins. 95 cents, $1, $2. So again, they're very affordable to get. So if you do find a few issues, chances are hopefully you can afford them. Buy them all. Sit down, read them. They're just fantastic. Again, even this first issue was costing me I think maybe 95 cents or $1. So again, it's not going to hurt your wallet to buy this comic, and I strongly suggest you do buy it. So again, that's it. I guess that's it. I can't stress how much I love this comic. I mean, the world is interesting and unique. The characters are awesome. The quality of the work itself is just, I love it. So if you're a fan of sword and sorcery, or you're looking to get into the genre, or you just want a different comic, I cannot strongly recommend enough getting Arak Son of Thunder. It is a fantastic title. You will not be disappointed. So I guess that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.